Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Dr. John Telford Show. He is a man of many talents. He's a track champion and he has several media shows and he has worked several places. And he is here with me, Gloria Cunningham, and our special guest that has as many talents or more than Dr. John Telford. Tune in every Wednesday at 10 o'clock and watch this great show and he will tell you everything about himself and everyone else. He knows plenty of prominent folks. He's at 1340 a.m. on Saturday mornings at 9:30 and also on Mondays at 6:30 p.m. So tune in to 1340 a.m. when you get a chance as well. I'm Gloria Cunningham, and I'm bringing to you Dr. John Telford with Helen Moore. Take it away, Doc.
Thank you, Gloria Cunningham, for that introduction, that impromptu introduction, because we did not have our introduction for you to do today. So you did an impromptu introduction. And I am John Telford. This is the John Telford Detroit Show on WJZZ Cool TV. And we indeed do have Helen Moore, the iconic Helen Moore, in the station today. She's an educator. And, she's an educator and I'm an educator. And she's an activist and I'm an activist. And I'm a poet. I don't know if Helen's a poet or not, but I am a poet. So I'm gonna do this poem called "Ode for Educators." Ode for educators. Teach. Ode for educators. Teach the truth to our youth. And that's what Helen has been trying to do, and that's what I have been trying to do. And I'm going to do my old introduction, my blue salt poem. My name is Detroit. I'm a blue-collar town. Blue salt melts my mid-March snow. Speedy cars and sprinters spring from me. I father fierce fighters and funky music. In a Motown moment, I can spit the blues right back in a bureaucrat's eye. Have you never seen blue salt? No complex chemistry here. Only the old color of a new sky. And it is indeed a new sky dawning today because we have got the great Helen Moore on the John Telford Detroit Show on WJZZ today. The great Helen Moore. And I'm going to read a poem that reminds me of Helen Moore because this poem really does remind me of her. And it's called The Value of Verse. It's one of my poems. Verse comes to us by pen or voice. We thus can always take our choice. Let me be also sure to mention that verse will gain us righteous vengeance via deft poetic arts that can topple oligarchs. Verse will clearly, plainly lay out what we poets dare to say out, like gentle mewling lambs no more, but rather with a cacophonic roar of lions. And we have got a lioness in the studio today on WJZZ Internet Television, a veritable lioness in the person of Helen Moore. So, Helen, welcome to the John Telford Detroit Show with co-host Gloria Cunningham this morning.
Thank you, John. I've never been called a lioness, but I appreciate that.
You are a lioness. You have always been a lioness. You are a fighter, man. I've never seen a fighter like you. And, these schools are in trouble like they've never been in before. The country's in trouble, really. But right now, we got to concentrate on the schools. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, actually, I've been a parent of thousands of children. Yeah. But I have 4 of my own.
Yeah.
And I have 3 boys and 1 girl. And they've all been educated in Detroit. And they all graduated from Cass Tech and went to college and did a lot of good stuff. And I have a grandson that's well known. His name is Mario Moore in the art world.
Great artist. Great
artist all over the world. And so
he's got a picture of you in the art museum.
Yeah, and he's got another one they just bought over there at the art museum. So everybody needs to go see it. But he's on on the path of greatness, and really, and I'm proud of him and my grandchildren and my children. So they're doing very well. And it's because, when you have a parent that fights for your rights, especially when they're in a situation that is not conducive to them being great, and you're trying to push them back and everything, and the mother or the parents push them forward, then we have children like I have.
And you're also the education coordinator for this group.
Yep, that's our group, NAN, and that's one of our groups. We belong to several national groups, and our group here is Keep the Vote No Takeover Coalition, a group of people that came together to get the school system back. And
I'm a paid-up member.
yeah,
I'm a paid-up member.
you are, and that's
Paid-up member here too.
and that's a long story, I tell you.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've been working as long or longer than I have. We
51 years.
we the same age. Well, I've been an educator for 65 years, but in the city of Detroit, is the city of Detroit satisfied with the DPSCD education level?
No, we're way down. I was at the school board meeting yesterday, and a lot of bragging about over 10% of the children can read and etc. And I'm sitting there in the audience saying, this is really a shame that people that are in positions that can help the children are only looking at 10, 15, 20%. What is wrong with us?
Only 20% can read.
No, it's
Jensen?
less than that.
It's less than that.
It
it's
was
less than that.
12%.
And
It
they
was-
mentioned that at the board meeting, and what was the
Yeah,
response?
No, Dr.
It's 14% now, 14.6% in the most
Dr.
recent
Beatty
test.
made the report, and it's gone up. It was
It went
a
from
year
12 to
ago,
14.
Yeah, well, before that was 9%.
Oh, geez.
And so,
Oh,
yeah,
goodness.
so there was a lot of bragging going on.
Well, they say they're improving, and Channel 2 said they're improving. Channel 7 said they're
but
improving.
improving is 1%.
That's right. But what they didn't say is they're improving from 9%, 12% to 14%, which is still totally unacceptable. And those
It
figures
should be 14% that can't read.
exactly.
not
Well, it
that
should be
can't
0%.
read, yeah,
that can't
zero,
read,
but if
ideally,
you-
yeah.
If it's at least reverse that, that's insane.
Well, if these kids can't read, you know what's going to happen to them.
Well,
And-
we
and,
know what's already happening to
yeah.
them, going to prison.
Going to the graveyard.
Yes, right. Not able to really take care of a family. And is it true that about 70% of our people in Detroit are not married? Is that they gave me that statistic?
I am not aware
But
of that.
I don't know what it is as far as families, a father and a mother and children and being married. Is it 70% of our people in Detroit? I'm talking about black.
Well, I know
families.
I've had a lot of kids who didn't even know who their father was,
Well,
in Detroit.
I
But
had-
we can't use that as an excuse, though.
That's what I say too.
We got to educate these kids when we get them. We got to take them where we got them and bring them where they need to be.
That's right.
That's what has to happen.
And so we're trying to do that. We have Keep the Vote No Takeover, which is our overall group, and we're part of National Action Network. And we're just trying to cover the entire city and try to move the children forward with our program, which is called Let's Read, and was done years ago with Michigan Chronicle, and June Brown wrote a book about Let's Read, and we're using it. I kept it all these years, and we took it to Dr. Beatty, thinking that maybe he wouldn't accept it, but he did after he
He's
read the
using
book.
it.
And he's actually using it. We do have the Let's Read program where people volunteer, teachers that have retired and parents and some of the younger people that are out of college do come. It's over 100, maybe 115 volunteers now, but we need many more.
Many more.
So we're pushing the Let's Read program. So anybody out there that would like to join us, all you have to do is call my number and I'll hook you up to the school system.
Give
313-934-7721. I'm going to say it again so there won't be any excuses. And I want to make sure you call me, because some people have said they've been going to the board and the Let's Read program, but they haven't been called back. in order for the 1 hour training. So my number again is 313-934-7721.
Is there an email you want to give anybody?
Yeah, my email is Helen, small case, Helen, HELEN, dash, the little dash in between, more, MOORE, at ATT.net. Helen, small case, HELEN, dash, MOORE, at ATT.net.
Okay. Well, Helen, let me ask you this. Should Detroit Public Schools Community District get more budget money to make funding more equitable? And how can we go about affecting that happening?
I like that word, equitable, because some people say, well, we give you the same as everybody else, but actually we've all these years we've gotten less because of the formula that was put forth years ago by the State Board of Education and also by the state legislators. We've always been behind, but now the governor and the people that are working with the governor are saying, well, we gave you more money this year, but see, when you've been left behind for years and years and years with the money, what happens? You fall behind. So now they're saying they gave us more money, but it is not equitable. The reason it's not equitable is because other school systems like Grosse Pointe and all the other folks have the basic formula for giving to the school system as far as the people who own property. Like Detroit, we pay less money in property, or we get less money. And then the Grosse Pointe and some of the other school systems get a lot more off of this formula. So when they gave us extra money this year, everyone started rejoicing. But it's definitely not equitable because you have to make up for all the years that you did not give us the same amount of money as Grosse Pointe and some of the other suburban schools. So we're still behind and we need more money to catch up. And so that's what we're working on now.
Well, and I think it's time for a commercial maybe and station
Okay,
identification.
station ID. You're watching the Dr. John Telford Show live, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world.
Thank you, Gloria Cunningham, for that station identification. And I am holding up one of my books. This is not my most recent book, but it's still fairly recent. The Poet Emperor of Earth, an in-depth dialogue with the deity. And, we need to get the deity involved now with these schools, let me tell you, because we've got a real problem with these schools, and the kids are not able to read. This is another book that just came out. This is my poetry book, Athletes, Activism, and Apple Boughs. And I encourage you to send for either one of these books, The Poet Emperor of Earth or Athletes, Activism, and Apple Boughs, a Detroit poetic epic. Because for one thing, this is how I stay on the air, by selling my books. And since the COVID, the sales have gone way down. We have got Helen Moore in the studio today. We've been talking about basically the schools, and which she has been a school activist, for longer than I can remember. But we've got a real problem right now with the schools. When I was superintendent, I did that job pro bono in 2012 and 2013. I tried very hard to get a reading program instituted called Quick to Learn. It was a program devised by a Cass Technical High School graduate named James Hare, and it's being used throughout the country now, but it's not being used here. It's being used in Green Bay because I recommended my old ombudsman, Dr. Claude Tiller, for the superintendency there, and so now they're using Quick to Learn in Green Bay, Wisconsin, but they are not using it here, and we've got to use that program here. The program Quick to Learn is the essential program for the third graders. Right now, we're using a third grade program that works in other grade levels, but it does not work for the grades 1, 2, and 3. So we've got to put quick to learn in there. I've asked Dr. Vitti several times. I'm asking him again to please consider putting that program in so we don't have any more kids come out of the third grade unable to read. So that's my spiel on this, Helen. I know
Well,
that you've got a lot
yeah,
more too to
They've
say
got
about it.
several reading programs. One was before we found out his wife's program. They were giving those millions of dollars to that group.
But she's not working for them
And,
anymore,
and
as I
she
understand it.
left, and
Yeah.
then just recently they put the program back in. They took it out, and at the last board meeting, they put it back in again.
So they're using
She's
Let's
gone.
Read at the third grade level still.
Yeah, but they're using his wife's program, that she left. That group is back in. They gave him a contract at the last meeting. I was there.
It's a Beyond Basics program. That they're
Beyond
using
Basic,
then.
and then there are several other programs. While I'm sitting there, our program, we do it free. We volunteer.
Yeah.
But they gave contracts to several other programs for reading that they're paying. Now, our people that are doing the program Let's Read free and volunteering are saying, why would they take and add, instead of extending our program, add 2 or 3 other reading programs and pay all of this extra money? That happened at the last meeting, and we're still puzzled over it. Is it politics? Why would you do that and then make our people feel like they are being mistreated? Because here you got Dr. Vitti's, and the board has okayed several reading programs, giving them thousands of dollars, millions. And then we got a volunteer program called Let's Read, and those people do it voluntarily. They spend their own money. We all do. I'm at Barton School. There are all of these different schools that these people are at, and now they're thinking that they're being kicked to the curb and not really treated fairly. So this has happened, and I guess we'll have a meeting this month, and we'll be discussing why would you do that instead of continuing to increase the volunteers? Why would you bring other programs, reading programs, in and pay them an enormous amount of money? Different groups. We would have to pull the programs from the computer if we get on there and see which reading programs are being used and how much they are getting paid. But people can do that. Board of Education, reading program, doing the same thing that we are, but we are volunteering. They're getting paid. It's weird that it happened all of a sudden when we were trying to increase the volunteers. That just happened.
Well, I know one thing. If we don't teach these kids to read, and I've said this, I mean, it's just self-evident.
Back to slavery.
Essentially, yes.
Mhm.
That's what.
And they mean to keep it that way.
Why?
Because they have to keep us as underling, and never they're making sure that we as Black people, especially predominantly Black schools like our school system, never catch up. And you see it's happening all over the country. They're actually trying to send us back to slavery. The slaves couldn't read. And so therefore, they want to make sure that our children can't read because something happened. And it happened recently. Some of the children in the South that had parents that were knowledgeable about slavery and what goes on with our children, some of those parents began to, in their churches, etc., began to teach their children how to read. And those children excelled above the white children and other children in the country. So what happened? They decided that they would have to keep our children down. Now, this is fact. It's not talked about, but we do our research. They want to keep our children down so that they will never excel over their children, but it's not working. We have evidence of children that are going to college, Black children.
Oh, we got brilliant kids.
Yeah, we got.
Let me tell you, the smartest kid that I ever taught was a Black Detroit kid at Southeastern High School named John Powell. You ever hear of John Powell?
When they get it together and their families get it together and their churches get it together. We have church children at our church that are 12 years old and can read the Bible. It's not difficult. They just need to know that they are somebody and that they can do these things. So now what's happening is all these races are coming and say, oh my God, these Black children are going to college. We got children 12 and 13 years old. The records are being kept from us that are actually in college, and some have graduated from college. They don't want the world to know that. In the meantime, they're doing everything they can to keep our children behind. So we have a long fight to do as far as getting our children where they belong and building their self-esteem. Sometimes they don't believe that they can do this, but once we talk to them and give them their history and tell them who they are, they begin to pick it up. Case in point, Barton School, child sleeping in class, sends him to me to tutor. He's just not interested. Looking at the child, taken to the library in the school and saying, why don't you pick out a book that you like? Child goes, looks in, he wakes up, he's sleeping all the time, goes, looks on the shelves, and he picks out this book that was like 12th grade. I'm serious. This is a third-year-old kid.
The cover looked interesting.
Shocked me.
Yeah.
He picks the book up, and I said, no, don't
Not
get the book that. Get one that you can read. He said, I can read it.
Oh, he could read it.
He takes the book. Now I'm in shock. And he starts reading out of this book. And so I said, hold on. Your teacher told me she's going to fail you. You sleep in class. You don't pay any attention. How come you can read that book?
He was bored in class. That was a real brilliant kid who was bored in class.
That's right. He said, my grandma taught me.
Yeah, well,
his grandmother.
We got sitting right across from us, Gloria Cunningham, who was the English department head at Finney High School, when I was running the curriculum there. And this was in 2003 to 2008. We had kids who were reading just fine. Part of that was because of Dr. Eddie Green, who was the superintendent when they took us over, if you'll recall,
I remember.
in 1999.
He did the four cornerstones.
But this was four years later. These kids could still read just fine.
Yeah.
There are some things they couldn't do, though. They couldn't behave at Finney because we were getting a lot of kids who were put out. They called them ATs. No sooner would we later have the school under control that it would go out of control again because they send us 50 more ATs. But those kids could read then. They could read because of Dr. Eddie Green and because of the programs that he had put in. And we got to get programs like that back in. When I was superintendent, I tried to put in the Quick to Learn program. I was foiled at doing that. They stopped me from doing it. It was emergency financial mismanager. At least in that sense, he was a mismanager. And that was a guy who had been vice president of General Motors. And he later said he was wrong. He later told Elena Harada he should have listened to me. But yeah, great. I mean, if he had done it at that time, which was the year 2012, our kids could all read now. But now, Helen, we've got, I don't know what you think, but I think we've got to get all the activists together and we've got to come up with a plan to fix this reading program, because what is a school district about? If it doesn't teach the kids to read,
let me say this
go
real
ahead,
quick.
Gloria.
I have really young grandkids now. The oldest is 1.5 and the other two are 8 months and 5 months. And my 8-month-old, she watches this media program that's excellent in teaching reading to somebody that doesn't know anything. So I know we have more media things in the school, but are you able to show this media piece to people at Barton? I mean, do the schools have internet or connections to things outside?
Yeah, they do, but we don't do it that way in our program. And
even if it's just like a few minutes.
Yeah.
And then just
they do, but we just have it our setup, and you've been over there helping us out, tutoring the kids, so you can understand when we go to the library and then pick a book out and they read to us. What we've done is pay attention to that program, the Let's Read program, and it's working. I've already been told our children have gone up. They're way up at Barton, and they're going to keep moving. They need to have people in there that care about them. We do have some volunteers from our group on Saturday. They've come over to Barton. And so now we got 2 or 3
So
different.
you do Saturday as
Yeah,
well?
on Saturday, the NAN group had volunteered over there. I'm
Okay.
part of NAN too.
Yeah.
And so we all are putting every effort we can into it. They have a different group of children. I have a different group of children, and it's working. I asked the principal, yes, their children are rising, but that's what you need, John. If we can do it at Barton School, and by the way, the enrollment has increased, we got a whole lot more
Really?
children. When parents hear about good things, they start transferring their children, and we had to increase it up to the 8th, going up to the 8th grade.
Can you get the big media to come and do a little show or program?
Dr. Beatty has been over there with a whole group of media people, and I happened to walk into them coming around the corner, coming in so I can tutor, and the whole group, they have that information. Okay.
Have they aired anything?
I don't know. All I know is I stood there with them and talked about our programs at Barton. That has happened. And I think he's spoken about it several places. But I don't want Barton to be, because I'm over there, and that's what I think is happening.
You've got to duplicate it everywhere. It's got to
That's
happen
right.
all over
It
the
can't
district.
just be at Barton. And
That's
the
my alma mater,
listen,
too.
When the people hear about it, they show you these parents don't care. Yes, they do. Now, I went over there the other day, and I tutor on Mondays and Fridays. The principal told me, I think we're going to have another teacher in here, because this place is getting overloaded with folks. Look, if they know that you're doing what they want for their children, they will respond. So when you got these schools that aren't getting anybody in, you better look at the head people. You better look at the folks that are failing our children. We have a school system where everybody in a school building, where everybody's working together. We don't take no mess. You've been there. Doctor, you need to come over. Quiet, education's going on, and everybody lets the children know they're loved. So we take from the child that doesn't feel like they're up to par, and we build their self-esteem.
Yeah.
So they know who they are, and from that they start advancing.
And they interact well with each other.
You've
Yeah,
been there.
yeah,
You've
yeah.
been right in the room with me and
the
everything.
school
So,
looks good, and they
Dr.
had closed Barton down.
yes,
Yeah.
and we opened it back up.
Yep,
The school
yep.
system opened back. Best thing that ever happened.
Well, with you over there, Helen, I mean, they're in the best hands they're going to be in. But again, what I'm saying, and I'm a secondary guy. I teach at Frederick Douglass,
Yeah,
and then I
you
go
do.
around to the high schools and recite my poetry, and a lot of it coming out of this book right here.
Mhm.
Athletes, Activism, and Apple Boughs, a Detroit Poetic Epic. But we've got to duplicate what you're doing all across the district. because-
Trying to. Now
Yeah.
I'm on this program. Somebody's going to hear it. And then they will take up the banner, but they got to start coming to school board meetings too, so they'll know what's going on, because they're cutting out information like I'm telling you on the air.
Mhm.
You would not
Yeah.
know about this program because they cut it out.
Yeah, you don't hear
Oh, right.
about this, and you
And
don't
it's-
hear the scores.
And it's
They
done
gotta
by
be
these-
honest. They
it's-
gotta be honestly presenting these test scores, and we're in crisis. I'm not pointing a finger at anybody or blaming anybody. I mean, I regard Dr. Vitti as a friend, and I know he gets upset with me sometimes. I think when I say what I'm saying, but I'm a journalist.
Yeah.
I got to tell
Yeah.
the truth.
Yep.
And the truth is, we have got a reading crisis in the city of Detroit. I know it's not just in Detroit. It's all across the country.
especially in black and brown school
That's right.
district.
That's
and
right.
it's done by design.
Okay,
Now,
freeze.
there's an interesting thing that you just said. Go ahead.
You're
Gloria.
watching the Dr. John Telford Show live
yeah.
streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world.
Thank you, Gloria Cunningham, for that station identification in your most melodious voice, which I always say on WCHB, my other show, because you do that there too. But
yeah.
Miss Virginia Starkey, fondly known simply as V, the proprietress of V's Boutique, offers a wide range of fine clothing and accessories for ladies. You can find all sizes of women's fine apparel in V's one-stop excellent customer service at V's Boutique that you can't find anywhere else in Detroit anymore. V's is at 16423 East Warren, 16423 East Warren Avenue, and that's right around the corner from one of the few libraries that's still open, and right around the corner from the old Alger Theater. So go to V's Boutique at 16423 East Warren and get some of that fine apparel. And we are interviewing the iconic Helen Moore today, and we are talking about the troubles in the Detroit Public Schools Community District.
And she knew my mother when I was about 10 a couple of years ago. And do you remember my mother's name?
Oh, Lord, I just forgot who you just talked about. I just forgot.
Well, last name was Cunningham.
Margie.
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah,
She was
Margie
in our group, Black
Ree.
Parents for Yeah,
Said a
Black
group
Parents.
name.
That's right. Right in the Barton community. Very well established and helped me an awful lot.
Yeah, she
I
worked for the
miss her, too.
governor. Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
I do
gone to
miss her.
glory about 23 years ago.
That's right. That's
but
right.
she was active and she was listening
was
to Miss
really
Moore.
active.
Yep.
And she helped me.
And I was at Barton.
Yeah.
Barton at the time. I was at another school over near
Well-
Linwood, but then I went to Barton for kindergarten
Yeah.
all the way up, and she made sure they double promoted me because she taught me how to read.
Yeah.
Period.
What school were you in over on Linwood?
Wager.
Okay, I was one in Linwood too.
Yeah, it
Linwood
was
and
a
McGraw. I
little-
was Esterbrook. I went there K through 8, back from 1941 to 1949.
Well,
But,
you know,
I wanted to say something though on that same topic, because when Helen came and picked me up today, because I wanted to make sure she knew how to get here because it's a new location, and the lady at the desk, Lorraine's mother, Elizabeth Hughes, went to high school with Helen. And I'm going to tell her that when we go
Oh,
back.
wow.
She went to high school with it, which was East
High School of
Commerce.
Commerce.
High School of Commerce.
Mhm.
Was it East Commerce?
We were at the High School of Commerce.
High School. You should have
She
been at
might have
Northwestern.
been to East, but we sometimes would work together.
We'd have been in high school together if you'd have come to Northwestern. 'cause
Yeah,
that's
that's
where I
true.
was.
My sisters and brothers went to Northwestern. I went to Commerce.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
got put out of there. I finished up at Denby. But
Got double promoted, and from
Yeah, they would
You
do
would've got
that. They
double
would do
promoted.
that. They don't
Yeah.
do that, I don't think, at
No,
all
they
now,
don't.
the
They
double
don't, no.
promotion. I was double promoted in kindergarten, and then I went to summer school because she wanted me to come out in June. But she was behind me and my brother, my mother, 100% in learning and doing and everything.
Well, you've forgotten something. The history was set back then. Your mother and the people that had children in our school, Barton School, broke up the entire city of Detroit when we closed down the school because they were racist and were not treating our children right and giving them the kind of education that we moved into the community to get. Almost all white, best school system in the state of Michigan. We all moved over there, but as soon as we got there, they stopped teaching, they stopped doing everything. So we organized, your mother and I and some of the other Black Parents for Quality Education, closed down the
goodness.
schools. Read your history. Everybody that's listening, go back and read the history of Barton School, Black Parents for Quality Education, and how we closed down that school, got the principal we wanted, and made it really good for our children. Now we got to start all over again. They closed Barton and it's opened again, and we got to do some of the same thing.
Yeah, because Mackenzie was white, and in '69 they had their first Black homecoming queen, and then it went like flip right over after
By
the
design.
assassination. They started moving, whites started
Look,
moving out, and
Everything that's happening is not by accident. They are so afraid of I just need to tell this story because they're not going to print it. Everything that's happening is because they are afraid. See, we don't see that, but when you're out here like I am, they are afraid of our children excelling over their children and being in charge. This is true, and it will not be told unless somebody like me that does the research and knows why do they try to keep our children behind? Why do they have all these stopgap? Because they are afraid of our children excelling their children, because it's been proven. Some of our children are in college at the age of 12. There is all kinds of history to show that. I keep up with it. They
Yeah,
are
yeah.
afraid, everybody that's listening. Our children are brilliant
No
when
question about that.
given the opportunity and the kind of education they deserve. So that's what we work on. All of us sitting at the table, we all work to make sure the world knows they're brilliant and make sure that our children know they're brilliant.
Do you speak at the board meetings? Do they have you come up and
all the
speak?
time. And about a year ago, John, it was you all that saved me. They kept throwing me out of board meetings.
Oh yeah,
And
that
you
was,
remember that board meeting?
yeah.
And I was told by Coleman Young and all the people that were working with us underground to keep talking, keep upsetting them, keep acting out so that people will hear it, because they're not going to put you on the news unless a black person gets up and acts a fool. And that was me trying to save our children. But I had a whole lot of people behind me that you all know in history. And they kept us going. But the last time I was thrown out, I remember looking down at the audience, and there you were in the aisle.
I came up the stairs.
Yeah,
man.
all the people, they were throwing me out, and he led all these people. They got up out of their seat, and he said, "Don't throw her out no
I think
more."
Sam Riddle was there.
Yeah, everybody. But wait a minute. That's the best part about it. After that, the next meeting. Now that's when you all organized and lined up. I mean, it was so many people. It was Sam and in the balcony. It was so many people there, and Joanne Watson led it. And so she said, "You sit here. We got you. They're not throwing you out no more. But you come up when I go up to the microphone. You come up and stand next to me and watch all the people in the community that supports what you're doing. They're gonna be behind me, and we all gonna speak about you." So I go to the microphone. Y'all lined up. I'm standing next to her. She said, "Don't you open your mouth." She said, and she told the board, "You touch her again, and this is what you're gonna see." And so that stopped. And guess what? They have never touched me again. I'm never thrown out in board. Now I wonder what strategy I'll use to get attention. Well, that was a good strategy.
We got to get back there again, with those same kind of numbers and the same concern, because we've got to teach our kids to read. We are not teaching our kids to read.
And John,
all of our kids, every kid that we got, we're not teaching them to read.
You keep saying that. We're working on it, and all we can do is continue. Where you're on the committee, you can't come anymore.
I can come to that committee. They just haven't been inviting me to that committee.
Oh, well, they probably took your name off the list because that's what happened.
They did.
All right, we meet once a month.
I know.
We are in the city.
But I'm talking about it. See, I got this program here. And I've also got WCHB.
Yeah.
And
so you keep
promoting. I'm drawing like crazy on WCHB.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of people are listening to me on WCHB. Okay. And I'm writing this paper right here, too.
Well, why don't you ask for some volunteers
this
today?
This paper right here.
To do the Let's Read program, okay?
Go ahead. You ask me.
Okay, the volunteer program for the Let's Read program. You have to call the Board of Education, and you have to ask for the Let's Read program. I don't have that number here, but it's all of this is listed on the computer. You can get it everywhere. Board of Education, ask for the Let's Read program and tell them you want to volunteer. All you have to do is come to one training session of 1 hour at the Asbury Park place where the staff is, and you will be able to go to your school or any school in elementary school and teach our children how to read.
And there are a lot of seniors, and I'm one that want to
you came and helped me. Remember?
Volunteering
it was
and doing
fun,
things
wasn't it?
So they can have purpose. They don't want to just sit at home and so it's a lot of seniors from 60 and up.
But there's another problem. Those
to
seniors have been calling me and saying when they call down there, they're not called back. We keep telling them people are calling us that are trying to get in to tutor the children, and they say that you're not answering the phone or that you're not trying to help them. That's another problem. So I'm on the air now, John, with you. and you can, they can hear me talking, but you got to continue this. If you want to be part of the teaching the children how to read at the 3rd grade level, then you must call the Board of Education. It's listed on the computers, listed all over. Just call and they will give you the necessary number for Let's Read. Everybody that's listening, you can help our children read.
You
Okay.
can call me too. You know, we got several numbers you can call. Call me at
What's the end of your email, Doc?
the end of my
EDD at
drjohntelford@AOL.com.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm going to do all of that right now because I didn't have an opening for you that I wanted to have.
Okay.
It was walking around my car.
Okay.
So you have been listening to the Dr. John Telford Detroit Show, coming to you every Wednesday live from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. on Wjzz Cool TV. He has a radio show as well on 1340 a.m. that airs every Saturday morning live at 9:30 a.m. It can also be heard again at 6:30 p.m. on Mondays, just in case you missed it. He is a well-known track star and a phenomenal educator and author of 8 books that can be ordered on Amazon. His latest book is titled Athletes, Activism,
And apple balls.
and apple balls, my
Detroit
favorite
Poetic
word there.
Yeah.
Call him at 313-460-8272, or you can email him at Dr. John Telford, EDD@AOL.com. Support the man who supports so many. You're watching the Dr. John Telford Show live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world, and join by calling the Board of Education. The Let's Read program, 1-hour training. You can volunteer to teach kids how to read under Miss Helen Moore anytime they are available in your neighborhood, in your grandchild's neighborhood. Join the Let's Read program called the Board of Education. And I'm finished right now.
Okay. Well, I got to start up again because I don't want to forget this. You know, Doyle Johnson, you know, one of my former students and trackmen at Southeastern High School, who's been self-employed for 52 years, just suffered a devastating fire at his office on Van Dyke in Detroit that destroyed most of his inventory and 90% of his equipment. His building insurance had lapsed because in Detroit, insurers want you to carry a $10,000 deductible, which is prohibitive for a small business. So Doyle has given back to the community ever since the 1960s. You know, he has given blood at the Red Cross. He's mentored young people at Southeastern High School. He's still doing that. He does it all the time, and he serves as Southeastern High School's president of their alumni, the Alumni Association. So a GoFundMe account has been set up by his daughter to help with rebuilding the business. You can find the site at Doyle Johnson, DoyleJohnson. That's the GoFundMe account site. Doyle, just simply Doyle Johnson, DoyleJohnson, and any amount will be appreciated. So please contribute to that GoFundMe account.
Yeah, I know him well. He's done a lot of things. I'm a McKenzie alumni, and he's done a lot of things in terms of T-shirts and being on time and giving. He's a good person. He and his wife work hand in hand.
He was also a hell of a long distance runner.
Really? See, I didn't know that about
Doyle
him.
was a cross country guy. He was beating everybody. But anyway,
We only
right
got a
now
few
he's
minutes.
got a serious crisis, and we
Yeah.
hope that everyone. And I've been talking about it too on WCHB, and I think I'll probably be writing about it because that guy we gotta save him. We gotta save that business that he's got. We are interviewing Helen Moore on the John Telford Detroit Show. Gloria Cunningham and I are interviewing her. And Gloria, well, here I'm going to say this. You have any other questions?
I did. It was with my.
Well, you was
my
downstairs. Oh, okay. Well, let me say this, because Helen has made
You only got a few minutes, Doc.
I know, but Helen has observed that there's a national movement to prevent black students from getting educated. And if indeed that is true, we have got a more serious problem than even we thought we had. So, Helen, do you want to comment on that?
It's true. All you have to do is look at the evidence. Why are the black schools all over the country doing worse than the white schools? Our children are brilliant, and it needs to be recognized. In fact, they need to recognize it, and their parents and some of their parents need to recognize it. But some people who don't want our children to succeed have recognized it. So they have put together I don't know if it's a program, but whatever it is to keep our children from excelling. So all the things that we go through in our school systems are done by design. Sometimes maybe the superintendent are not in with them, but they do things from a higher up level, like the money being issued to schools and all of that. They make sure that we don't get our fair share. They make sure that our children are not recognized for the good things that they do. They only emphasize the bad things. And if you are at home and you think about what your children have gone through and what you went through when you were in school, you will understand that it was done by design. So what we're trying to do is wake up the sleeping giant. The sleeping giant is us.
That's right.
And
Well,
until we recognize
we better
who we
wake
are,
up, and we got to get the
Yeah.
vote out, and we got to vote straight Democratic across the line.
and
And
so
that's
we
a
might
total
be
other-
doing that next year. Remember, now is the election coming up next year.
And
School
I also
board,
got
school
to
board.
mention, next week we're having Anthony Adams on, because they close 9:10 a.m. down to the talk show. So I've invited all the folks who
Anthony
were on
Adams has passed away. If you're talking about the Anthony Adams,
No, Kilpatrick's assistant
No,
mayor.
Anthony Adams, who's a deputy mayor under he's very much alive. He's coming on my show next week.
okay,
under Kilpatrick.
all right.
Yeah,
His deputy
he ran
mayor.
for mayor. Remember? He
Oh
ran-
yeah. Okay, now
yeah.
I'm thinking about the guy that
Oh,
went
God,
to
don't-
law
don't-
school that just passed and was on the radio program, radio station. The other one that closed down and everybody was so upset about
910. That's
Yeah.
where Anthony Adams was. That the other Anthony Adams. He had
the other.
he had Sam Riddle's.
Yeah.
He had Sam
Okay.
Riddle's space.
I'm
he gave
just
him
saying
his
you are
space.
talking
Yeah,
about Anthony,
yeah,
and
he
I
took
know
over-
he went to law school with
Took
me.
over Sam's spot. Nicole
Okay,
Black's
and
been
his-
on over there. Also,
Yeah,
Ficano, Willie
Burton.
Willie Burton.
Uh-huh.
And,
Okay.
and we're bringing Anthony Adams on
Next
this
week.
coming Wednesday, next Wednesday. And
Yeah, I
just wanted
talked to him recently about the nursing home piece. So he's still trying to see what he can do.
Well, you'll be interviewing him next week, because he's going to be here next week. So you can talk to him about that nursing home situation, and hopefully, he can back you up in some of your crusade to improve that situation.
Okay.
But I also wanted to give a shout out, because we had poetry in the park, over at the Etheldra May Williams Park, way over in the